Do you know what animal can sleep for 3 years without eating? Neither did I until I started hosting 5 daily trivia questions. Hi, I'm Mark Ellison. Every weekday, I'll challenge you with 5 brain-bending questions spanning history, pop culture, science, and more. Perfect for your morning commute or lunch break. 5 daily trivia questions. And by the way, it's the snail that can sleep for 3 years. 5 daily trivia questions wherever you get your shows.
Hey folks, Garrett Fisher here. I need to tell you about this absolutely mind-blowing podcast, Acting President, that's been keeping me up at night. It's about James Bennett, a former governor starring in a hit Sunday night TV show about overthrowing the government, and then his actual former chief of staff approaches him to do it for real. The line between fiction and reality completely disappears when these course correction rallies start popping up everywhere. Is it brilliant marketing or something more sinister? The parallels are insane. Trust me, this is the political thriller you didn't know you needed in your life. Acting President, available now wherever you find podcasts.
Feeling overwhelmed by negative news? 5 Good News Stories is your daily dose of what's going right in the world. Like the 103-year-old granny who got caught speeding in her sports car because she was living life to the fullest, or the family who found their missing cat after 3 years when it showed up at their vacation rental. Remember Flop the penguin's incredible comeback after his injury? And that guy who broke the world record for most high fives in 24 hours while raising money for charity? These are the stories that remind us the world is still full of wonder and joy. 5 Good News Stories. Pure positivity 3 times a week. 5 Good News Stories, available wherever you get your podcasts. 5 Good News Stories.
Calaroga Shark Media.
Gayle King recently opened up about her remarkable experience witnessing history from the front row of Pope Leo XIV's inaugural Mass in Vatican City. The CBS Mornings host was among the privileged attendees at the momentous ceremony on May 18th, accompanied by her close friends Oprah Winfrey and Maria Shriver. King shared the exhilarating moment when the new pontiff passed by in his vehicle. As Pope Leo XIV drove past their prime seating location, King and her companions couldn't contain their enthusiasm for the first American pope. "We found ourselves shouting, 'Chicago! Chicago!' when he went by," King recounted with obvious excitement. The moment proved even more thrilling when the pontiff appeared to acknowledge their calls, pointing in their direction as he continued his procession. This is white smoke. Despite not sharing the Catholic faith, King described feeling something profound in the Pope's presence. There was an undeniable energy and significance to being there, she explained. "We were witnessing a truly historic moment." The 70-year-old television personality captured this memorable interaction on video, later sharing the footage on social media. The clip shows the genuine joy and surprise of the group as Pope Leo XIV seems to respond to their enthusiastic calls. The New York Times shared how Bob, as his American friends still call him, or Roberto, as his Spanish and Italian acquaintances do, has maintained a consistently understated presence, a modest figure amid a world of larger-than-life personalities draped in luxurious scarlet vestments, a diligent administrator of the apostles. His spiritual formation taught him to step back and create space for others, while prioritizing faith above all else. He acknowledges the necessity of leaving more of himself behind as he assumes the responsibility of guiding the world's 1.4 billion Catholics. The Times recounted how Pope Leo XIV made an unannounced visit to his Augustinian Order's headquarters just off St. Peter's Square. Over carbonara pasta, he listened as his emotional friends expressed how the church's gain had created an absence in their chapel and dining room. "I see one has to give up many things," he remarked during the lunch, according to Reverend Alejandro Moral Anton, a longtime friend present at the gathering. After finishing, Leo XIV whose greatest pleasure was driving for hours on dusty rural roads, across American highways, or crossing European borders, settled into the back seat of a black Volkswagen Tiguan SUV for a journey of just a few hundred feet back to the Vatican. Surrounded by security personnel, crowded by onlookers, and pursued by journalists, Bob Prevost faced uncertainty about his path. For years, the priesthood seemed his destiny. Raised in a devoutly Catholic family outside Chicago's South Side, his friends and teachers in elementary school sensed his calling. Even an elderly neighbor across the street told him, when he was just a child, that she believed he would become the first American pope. He departed from his parents and brothers around age 14 to enter a junior seminary approximately 2 hours away in Michigan's wooded landscape. There, he prepared for a contemplative life, eventually at Villanova University, a stronghold of Augustinian education near Philadelphia. Yet during this seemingly certain period, he confided his doubts to his father. "Maybe it would be better I leave this life and get married. I want to have children, a normal life," the future pontiff, in a 2024 interview on Italian television, recalled saying. His father responded, he explained, in a profoundly human yet meaningful way, telling his youngest son that, indeed, the intimacy between him and my mum was significant, but equally important was the intimacy between a priest and God's love. "There's something," then Cardinal Prevost remembered thinking, "to listen to here." The conversation eased the conscience of Prevost, then a young and deeply devout man with an appreciation for striped trousers, St. Augustine, and mathematical equations. His childhood years in Chicago as a White Sox enthusiast, his time as a precocious boarding school student in Michigan, and his experience as a Villanova Wildcat with lengthy sideburns and a deep side part culminated in the spiritual formation of a future pope, during which he trained to develop an interior life resistant to worldly temptations, particularly material and physical pleasures. He had expected to attend an Illinois seminary for Augustinians, but when it closed, he instead enrolled at Villanova in 1973. Majoring in mathematics, he attended masses occasionally, interrupted by calls of "Hoagie Man" when a sandwich vendor passed by. Prevost and others pursuing priesthood lived together on campus in a section of St. Mary's Hall, generally coexisting harmoniously with fellow students. "There were a couple of ugly incidents," said Reverend Tony Pizzo, who was 1 year behind Prevost at the school and now leads the Augustinian order in the Midwest, "where a couple guys from the other part of the dorm were funny. They just did some nasty things," he added, noting they dumped garbage in the hallway where he and Prevost resided. "We wake up in the morning and there'd be crap all over the place." These were distractions from what truly mattered, developing an inner life. Father Pizzo explained that their tight-knit group discussed the works of Karl Rahner, a Jesuit theologian critical of rigid church doctrine and a monarchical view of the papacy. Rahner's ideas, including empowering local bishops, proved important for the Second Vatican Council, which introduced modernizing church reforms, and for developing liberation theology, which applied gospel teachings to real-world problems, particularly in Latin America. Prevost gained recognition as one of the more intellectually gifted students, studying Hebrew and Latin despite not majoring in scripture. "Bob, it's like really," remarked Father Pizzo. He extensively read St. Augustine. Protests and debates over controversial issues such as women's ordination as priests swept across campus, but classmates remembered Prevost as reserved and difficult to interpret, except in his obvious dedication to helping the disadvantaged. He and his close friend Reverend Robert Dodaro, since high school they became known as the Two Bobs, worked with alcoholics and addicts. Prevost, who drove a manual transmission Ford, visited hospitals and bars to assist those in need. He supported friends in the order who lost loved ones and became a reliable confidant. Father Pizzo recalled that during one harsh Chicago winter, he had holes in his shoes while walking through snow and slush, but his superior, citing the order's vow of poverty, questioned whether he truly needed new footwear. Father Pizzo consulted Prevost. He said, "What are you talking about?" He remembered, adding that the future pope offered practical advice, instructing him to purchase shoes and present the receipt to the superior, He says, "Our vow of poverty doesn't mean we live in abject poverty. That's not what it means."
You can get this podcast completely ad-free right now. If you're on Apple, just click the banner that says Uninterrupted Listening, and you'll get your first month free. If you use Spotify or other podcast players, go to calaroga.com/plus. It's just $5 a month, and you'll get access to over 20 premium shows with no interruptions. Binge listen to new series like the political thriller Acting President, Signal Lost, where military secrets land on the wrong phone, and Pager Protocol, the thriller about exploding pagers in the wrong hands. Plus, enjoy daily shows like Palace Intrigue about the royal family, daily comedy news, and 5 daily trivia questions to test your knowledge, and White Smoke, taking you behind the scenes at what's happening right now at the Vatican. You also get all our hot shows like 5 good news stories. Enjoy your favorite content without any ad breaks. Remember, Apple users click the Uninterrupted Listening banner for your free first month, and everyone else head to calaroga.com/plus. Get ad-free listening today.
If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths, and sometimes heights, to ensure the power is always flowing. Which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Before becoming Pope Leo XIV, or even Father Bob to his parishioners, the future pontiff was simply the youngest of 3 Prevost boys sitting in the pews at St. Mary of the Assumption Parish, located on the far edge of Chicago's southern border. During the 1950s and 60s, St. Mary of the Assumption thrived as a vibrant Catholic community. All 3 Prevost brothers attended the parish elementary school, while their mother, Mildred, served as president of the St. Mary Altar and Rosary Society. She also performed in the parish's theatrical productions, leaving a lasting impression on fellow parishioner Noel Nice. "They were always there," Nice recalled, remembering how she often sat behind the family during Sunday morning Mass. The community revolved around the church. The Prevost family's regular attendance reflected the deeply Catholic character of their neighborhood, where the parish served as the heart of social and spiritual life. This tight-knit environment shaped the future Pope's early understanding of faith and community. However, the vibrant Catholic enclave of the future Pope's youth has undergone dramatic transformation. Today, this once bustling South Side community has largely vanished, its Catholic institutions closed and parishioners scattered throughout the suburbs. St. Mary of the Assumption experienced severe decline over the decades. Dwindling attendance forced the congregation to merge with another struggling parish in 2011. The combined parish faced further consolidation in 2019, joining with 2 additional churches. The original St. Mary building now stands as a poignant reminder of its former glory. The structure has deteriorated significantly, with graffiti defacing the area behind the altar, a stark contrast to the reverent space where young Robert Prevost first learned the foundations of his faith. This transformation from thriving Catholic community to abandoned church reflects the broader changes that have reshaped urban American Catholicism since the new Pope's childhood.
There's always something brewing behind palace walls, whether it's Prince Harry and Meghan Markle making headlines from afar, or Prince William and Princess Catherine quietly preparing for the future throne. I'm Mark Francis, and on Palace Intrigue, we cover every twist, turn, whisper, and wink. From royal drama to daily gossip, follow Palace Intrigue wherever you get your podcasts.
You know the silhouette, the squint, the voice that cuts like a blade. Clint Eastwood isn't just a movie star. He's a myth, a mayor, a cultural fault line, and maybe the last great American icon. Eastwood Reloaded tells his story one chapter at a time. The hits, the flops, the chaos between the scenes. Because legends aren't born, They're built. Eastwood Reloaded. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
In Washington, D.C., power flows through information. But what happens when the most sensitive military intelligence in the world ends up on the wrong phone? In the halls of power, a national security advisor makes a fatal miscalculation. On the other side of the world, a special forces team walks into a perfectly orchestrated trap. When the dust settles, 4 American soldiers are dead, 3 more captured. And the most catastrophic intelligence breach in modern history is just beginning to unravel. Signal Lost, a 6-part podcast thriller about betrayal, courage, and the devastating consequences of a world where even our most guarded communications are never truly secure. When everyone is listening, nowhere is safe. Signal Lost. Available wherever you get your podcasts.